Record. Good afternoon. Thank you guys. Thank you for logging on to a Table for Queens. We have had our guest. She's on tonight, guys. Miss Valencia Taylor. She is going to introduce her book, and she's also going to tell you a little bit about herself. Welcome to the new year of 2022. Thank God we all made it. Again, this is a Table for Queens. Dr. Ware could not be on tonight, but we do have our special guest. Hello, Miss Taylor. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. Once again, my name is Valencia Taylor. I'm a mother of 4 kids. I'm currently working as a special education teacher at Plano Independent School District. Basically just started back working in the education field, just basically trying to find my way, trying to find my career, what's my purpose in life. First of all, I wanted to always own my own business, and I do have my credit repair business. It has its ups and downs, so that's why I decided to. At first, I was like, I didn't want to work for no one. Let me do my own business, but it didn't work that way. 1 month I do real good, and the next month it's no sales, and next month a lot of sales. So I had to find a way to get a steady income. So I got back into the school district to make no extra money. But that's something that I want to do. Is basically have my own business. So whenever it's my time to leave, I always have something that my kids can always fall back on. And also another thing that I do from time to time, I try to like sell a little purses online or just anything dealing with fashion, just to make some extra money, have extra income going forward. Okay, and just to go back on the book that I wrote, I'm all over the place. I tried to write the stuff, but it's coming out different than what I wrote. But so we're going forward with the book. My purpose for writing the book was basically saying online that this lady named Erica Boyd had wrote her own book. And when she wrote her own book, it's something that I always wanted to do, was write a book. I never just knew where to start. So once I seen her start her company, then I just reached out to her, and she just, basically helped me along the way with the steps in writing my book.
And tell the audience, even though we have been promoting your book, let them know the title of your book.
The title of the book is 4 Kids, 4 Fathers, Still Winning.
Okay, and for the ladies that are logging on, remember, I don't care how many children, how many fathers, as she said, she is still winning. She's owning her purpose in life. She has her own business, and she works in the educational field. Congratulations, Miss Taylor, for never stopping your purpose, and also for giving back to the community. Okay, Miss Hooper, do you have any questions for Miss Taylor?
Yes, Miss Taylor, I thought your book was awesome. I really did. So, but normally when I first read a book, the first thing I do is go and I learn about the acknowledgments. So, of course, that was the first thing I did from cover to cover. I love to begin that way so that I can learn a little bit about the author. I noticed that you acknowledged your grandmother. So, will you tell us about the impact that your grandmother had on you before we begin to really dive into your beautiful testimony in your
Brianna,
book?
You got to get her.
Yeah, just tell us about the acknowledgement in your book where you were honoring your grandmother. So what impact did your grandmother have on your life that sparked the fight that you have?
Okay, first and foremost, can you all hear me? Because I had to mute it for a second. Y'all hear me? Okay, I'm sorry. So first and foremost, my grandma raised me from the age of 5 until I was grown. Just like being around my grandmother, she had 9 kids of her own. She raised all her 9 kids. Of course, she had her husband with her at all times, but he worked, and she basically raised the kids. Not only her raising her own 9 kids, she helped raise some of her sisters and brother kids, great nieces, nephews. Like you will be amazed, like people that wasn't even in the family. So it was just like, she just took on so much, and she just never let the world see like how hard she struggled. She never had a nasty attitude. She never treated nobody wrong, even though she was going through so much, trying to just help everybody and please everybody. And taking from her own kids' mouth to feed other kids. It's just like all of that just inspired me to like You know, when I have my kids, I gotta just make sure I'm there from day one. Just making sure that my grandma can do it with 9 kids plus other kids. It just was a big motivation. Like if she did it, like it's no difference. Like you got to do it. You don't have a option. Those are your kids. You got to do it no matter what. Nobody else help you. At the end of the day, you got to do it.
That's powerfully true. One thing that I noticed about your book, and I would have never discovered your book if it wasn't for Ms. Hooper. And I got the book and I read it, and I also enjoyed it like she did, because as with most women, some things are a tell-all and some things are a testimony. What I liked about your book, you did use it as a testimony, and then you can tell that you protected a lot of people in your book. You told your side of the story and you stood true to it. For the first part, it speaks about a lot of abuse.
Mm-hmm.
So what advice would you give to someone that is going through an abusive relationship?
Basically, just want every woman to understand, like, it's never okay for it to let someone hit you, and it's never okay to put your hands on someone. Because sometimes it's not all the man's fault. Some women do raise their hand, or it's even such thing as verbal abuse. So you gotta just watch your mouth and watch yourself at all times, because some situation women look like, oh, okay, yeah, I did say this, so I deserve what he did. But even though you say certain stuff that you shouldn't say, it doesn't give no one an opportunity to hit you or put their hands on you. So basically, I know we all have ways that we say things that we shouldn't say, but we just need to work on verbal communication and making sure you're saying things that won't hurt each other or things that won't cause anything to happen, to make it a reason for it to be a big outrage to where we're fighting.
I think as most human beings, we are all guilty of sometimes saying the wrong thing or saying too much, but I do like what you said, it still does not give them the right to put their hands on you. Also, we noticed in the book, you finally decide to leave, even though you had more than one abusive relationship. What advice would you give to men? Because often we always call the baby mothers bitter. But advice would you give to men that fail to step up and take care of their kids or own their responsibility of their destruction in the relationship?
Okay, and I used to think that it started from home, like a man wasn't raised right. That's the reason that they're not taking care of their child. But I have seen some men have the best parents in the world. It's just up to them whether they want to. Some men do it because if they're not in a relationship with you, they don't want to deal with the child. And some men do it out of bitterness. Like they say, women are bitter. Men feel the same way. They don't want to see you with somebody else. They don't want to see you happy. So they going to just exit themselves out of the child's life. But and also, it's just like a mind game. Like if they can't talk to you, they don't want to talk to the child. They try to play a mind game to make you communicate with them or make you want to deal with them and still be in a relationship with them in order for them to communicate with the child. But my advice to men, like I look at it is, for example, as far as a man, if you have a sister or a mother or a daughter, every time you use a woman as a punching bag to hit a woman, look at it as someone else is punching your mother or your sister. Look at it as their way or whatever, because you don't want nobody to do the things to your sister, your mother, or your daughter that you're doing to another woman. So basically I know it's kind of hard because women, we would take advice from people, but men really don't take advice. Like a man is a man, they feel like can't nobody tell them nothing or whatever. So my advice just basically like for a man, it just got to be in them to want to do for their child, or it got to be in them to want to stop hitting on a woman. I don't even think nobody can get into a man's head and say stop this or you need to take care of your child. It's all up on a man to do what they want to do.
And KQ is also a counselor. So do you have a question for Ms. Taylor? And also KQ, in your line of work as a counselor, what have you seen sometimes that causes, like she said, they can come from the best home. We can't always fault things on their parents or different things like that. What have you seen in certain men that causes them to act outrageous like that?
Well, in all honesty, I really haven't dealt with many abusive men in my line of work. But as Ms. Taylor said, it's an individual thing. People are dealing with so much, and we promote getting help for your mental health. And a lot of issues go undiagnosed. Although you came from a great family, people are traumatized. There are so many things people have gone through in life that we have no clue of how they're feeling or what they're actually going through. You know, on the outside looking in, yeah, they did have a great life. Yeah, they did have great parents. Yeah, they did come from a great neighborhood. No, they didn't want for nothing. But internally, you never know what an individual is going through. So it's an individual thing, I would say. And to each its own, because I don't think that there is, as I always say, a cookie cutter answer to why someone does what they do. You know, and she gave a list of reasons why guys do what they do in relationships. You know, I can do this to manipulate you so I can control you or make you come back and be in a relationship with me. So it could be a host of things.
You're on mute, correct, Nicole?
I'm sorry. And I was asking Miss Taylor, how has writing this book changed you?
It made me writing the book basically made me feel more free. Like I got my best friend for like maybe 8 to 10 years, didn't even know all the things that I went through. When she read my book, she called me and she just kept on saying, like, Valencia, you didn't even tell me none of these or whatever. It was just mainly me being embarrassed about the situation. And she called me, my family member, my uncle called me. He was like, I never knew none of this or whatever. It just, a few people only knew what was going on because it was a situation, but I was more embarrassed of the situation because I chose to stay in the situation. And it basically just opened me up and made me feel free and actually made me have a better relationship with my daughter daddy, because it just like it kind of just all the anger that I had towards him in my life, like just hated him as a man, it kind of just I just let it out and I was free, and it was like it was out to the world to know. And now I can just look at him and just move on with life and try to co-parent with him better with my daughter.
That's great. Miss Taylor, I wanted to say, through the course of reading your book, there were times when you would say, but the God in me would not let me, and I found myself chuckle at those statements. And it was like I said, it was a beautiful read. So in the beginning of the book, you mentioned, marriage and that fairy tale. So I wanted to ask you, have you given up on that fairy tale? Or do you still someday see that that ideal marriage?
Well, I still do want to get married. I still want to provide my kids a 2-parent household, but it's at the point like every person that I meet, the first wrong in them, I'm just ready to move on. I don't want to settle for nothing. And sometimes I tell myself, dang, if I would have settled for this with this person, I probably would have been married by now. I don't know, like my heart just don't let me take nothing no more. I just move on so fast because I've been through so much, and I just feel like it's somebody out there that won't do these things. It's somebody out there that I don't have to settle for and just take certain things for. And just until then, I just will be the lady in the shoe with all the kids just by myself.
And you know what? And that's okay. I think that's the beauty of it. Like Shea said, you said it's the God in you. I think it's the God in you that's not allowing you to miss those red flags. I'm not sure if you watched the Felicia Blakely story, but the one thing she was saying is she was like, when someone is so desperate for love, they accept any type of love. So I do thank God that you have recognized that. I think as all women and men, we need to recognize some of those red flags you can't change. I like the beauty in what you were just saying, like, your friends calling you and they didn't know what's going on because you masked it very well. I think sometimes we mask it because we love that person. And then, like I said, it's embarrassing. You don't want to let nobody know, like, I had a vulnerable moment. I went through this, but it's beauty afterwards because you are independent. You're doing things that most women are not doing. Some women stay stuck and stay in those type of relationships. So even after writing this book, what would you tell a young girl in your situation or had those situations?
I'm sorry, it's like mine's kind of went out on the end.
What advice would you give to the younger generation?
Basically my advice to the teenagers and younger women, I know we all have to learn from our own mistakes. I don't want nobody to be like, just like, no, I don't need to give nobody no chance or just give up so easily, but just understand to love yourself first. If you're with someone and you're not happy and you feeling miserable and sad and they not making you feel like the beautiful person on earth or making you happy every day, that's not the person for you. I'm not saying like every person you deal with, just soon as it's one argument to leave them. I'm just saying, don't sit up and pretend to be happy and be miserable just to say you're in a relationship or just to say you with someone. It's people that have been married for 10 years plus. They're just doing it for, basically for their kids and to hold their family together, but they're not happy, they're miserable. And that's not the way life's supposed to be. Like, you're not supposed to sit in your home and when your husband get out of work, you hate to see his face. You enjoy him, you enjoy it when he's not at home. That's not the way that, life's supposed to be.
Wow, that is very inspiring, Miss Taylor. And I think that your testimony, your story is so beautiful and so encouraging. It's definitely not anything you should ever be ashamed of. And it's amazing how healing it is when you can shine a light on things that have been kept a secret. So, when I read your book, my first thought was, man, I wish I was still teaching high school. I would literally buy a classroom set and require the students to read your book and do me a book report. It is a really, really great testimony. And you're an overcomer, and it is undeniable that you are.
And she was saying when I was teaching high school, I was standing and I told Leora this, I was standing outside the door, and I think she was maybe in 10th grade, and he should have been in 12th grade. And it was like reflex. Before I knew it, he reached out to hit her, and just in time, I stepped in the middle. And when we took her to the office, she had been in a relationship for a while, and she was going through the same thing. She didn't want anyone to know, but at the same time, she was like, I love him, but I'm tired of him. I'm tired of him doing me like this, but I love him. And I think it's a cycle for the younger generation where they rationalize it and they think it's okay. Sometimes I have heard women say, well, he just loved me more and he protected me if he hit me. But this was a very young girl, and it's like I was saddened for her. And I have daughters myself, and I know that's hard even for your parents. And I know you spoke a lot about your father and everything in this book as well. And I like you also mentioned that even earlier, because sometimes we always point the finger. We stay in this relationship because this happened in my family, or we do this. And I do like to think you have pointed out that it brought you and your daughter's father closer together as well, because sometimes people look beyond the book instead of looking at the message of the book. So I think it's an outstanding read. I hope more people buy it to learn something about themselves as well. And as we always ask, what is your definition of love, Miss Taylor?
Give me one moment.
Okay. Okay, Miss KQ, since she stepped away, what advice would you give to someone that's going through an abusive relationship if this was one of your clients?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can. Well, now I can.
All right, my apologies about that.
You're fine.
Okay, and the question was, what is my definition of love, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my definition of love is like basically just pure happiness. Like when you can just wake up to someone every day and just feel happy and love with just not a hate bone in your body, like you're just enjoying the moment. And there's gonna always be different things that you don't agree on, but there's no like just nothing that's hurting your heart, hurting your soul, or just making when you're in love with someone, or just even just with your kids, like with your kids, it's just that happy moment that bring good spirit to you. Whatever can bring good spirit to you and just keep you going emotionally and physically, keeping you happy at all times.
We always ask that question because it's like the purpose of the table is discovering self-love. I think a lot of us lack self-love, self-esteem issues, especially in high school. High school is some of the worst moments. Coming out of high school, going into college, it's like you're still trying to figure out who you are. And I think for me, figuring out who I was when my defining moment was for my children. KQ also has a question for you. What question do you have for Miss Taylor, KQ?
Hey, Miss Taylor, I just would like to know, like, what was the defining moment for you to say, hey, it's time to leave this abusive relationship?
My breaking point with my abusive relationship was like basically one day I was getting ready. I think I did mention it in the book. I was getting ready to go to Reviver, and I was in the bathroom fixing my hair, and he came in and he was like, "You always trying to wear tight stuff to church," and he immediately. I can't remember exactly. I probably did say something smart, knowing me, I probably did. And he immediately like hit me, and it kind of, my daughter was beside me and she kind of like flew over into the tube. And while we're fighting, going back and forth, my little sister was in my house at the time, and she was trying to break us up, and she was like in the middle of us as we was fighting. So she basically taking leg for leg or whatever, and he eventually like stopped and just left my house before the police came. But like right there was my breaking point, because out of everything that we always did, like my daughter have never got no hit by it or was any physical damage that was done to her. And not only that, my sister had to get in between it and get physical punches towards her by trying to break it up. So that was my breaking point. After he had left my house that day to avoid from seeing the police, I think he ended up going to his mama's house, and they went to Virginia for like the summer or something. And they ended up making him stay there, so he went go to jail when he came back or whatever. But that was my breaking point of not talking to him again. We eventually had talked over the phone for a few times and then, but ever since that day, we never was in a relationship no more. We never was physically as acting as we was being together or anything ever since that day.
That is a lot. KQ, if you had to give advice to anyone that's going through it as a counselor, what would your advice be? And I know some people always say you can't advise in a relationship, but the Bible does speak of saying that you should give people wise counsel. I thank you, Miss Taylor, for at least reaching out and letting people know your story, what you went through, because that's advice in itself. Because some people are scared to share their story. Some people are scared to speak on it. So KQ, what advice would you give to someone as a counselor that is going through an abusive relationship?
Well, two things I would like to say is know that you are not alone and that there is help. Like, and I hear Miss Taylor say that, she was embarrassed. And a lot of times people are scared. A lot of times people feel, well, my family is not going to help, or their family is going to look and see, or I may get blamed. I actually watched a story today, a movie today called In Broad Daylight. And the young lady was in an abusive relationship. The relationship was going great. The guy was very nice in the beginning and moved her in, told her to quit her job. She eventually became pregnant, and like in her last month or so, he became abusive to her, very controlling. And she was embarrassed to let anybody know. And it showed a scene where she was actually sitting down talking to her mom, and her mom was telling her that, hey, it's okay when a guy is a little jealous over you. That lets you know that he really loves you. And it's like, no, like you can't ignore those red flags, and this was advice she was getting from her mom. But eventually she opened up and let her cousin know, and eventually, let somebody know, because sometimes people feel like they're alone or nobody is going to understand. So I would say that, one, you are not alone, and two, there is help. Never feel like someone will not help you, because there is help out there.
Okay, Ms. Valencia, you also spoke about a friend in your book that did help you.
I'm sorry, you said, can you repeat the last part for me? I keep
said
hitting
you
the
also
wrong
spoke
trigger. I
about
keep hitting it.
it's sometimes the internet connection is bad, so sorry you guys to the audience. You also spoke about a friend in your book that did come help you move. Are you and her still friends?
Well, there was a friend that came help me move. There was a different situation. I wasn't in a abusive relationship with that person. It was just like other things like cheating and different things in that nature. But she did help me. I was living in Wisconsin at the time, and then she did help me move from Wisconsin to Texas. Yeah, and I've been in Texas ever since then, but we're not friends anymore. We lost communication probably like 3 years ago.
But it's also still good to have those good friends that will. And then that's even with the part of cheating. Sometimes people do not realize if you have someone that habitually cheats on you, that's abuse in itself, because it messes with you mentally. As you we are all ladies on here, and I'm pretty sure we all have been cheated on a time or two before. But cheating also changes self-esteem, and sometimes people does not see that as abuse, but that's also a form of mental abuse, because it messes with your mind and also messes with your self-esteem until you get tired. Have you ladies ever been to a point where someone has cheated on you so much it did change your outlook on yourself? Did it bother your self-esteem? Did it bother you mentally? Ms. Valencia, would you like to go first?
I wouldn't say it changed my self-esteem, but it was like it bothered me mentally. It's like, what more do I have to offer, or what more do I have to do? Like, what's the reason? Or, just basically questioning, like, how could somebody that you being 100% to, and doing so much for, like, how could they do the things they're doing to you? I wouldn't say it just made me feel less of a woman, or feel like it's another woman out there that look better than me or anything in that nature. It just like made me question, like, is it something that I'm doing wrong in my relationship, but not as far as, like, I feel like maybe he cheating because it's another woman out there that did look better. It just was more of me like, well, maybe I need to cook more, or maybe I need to do this more, or something like that in that nature. But I just feel like no matter what you do or what situation, if a man want to cheat, he's going to cheat. Like, you can't you can have the perfect body, you can cook every day, you can clean from the house from the top to the bottom. If it's in a man to cheat, that's what they're going to do.
Leora or KQ?
Well, I'm gonna say this. Anytime I was in a relationship and I've dealt with cheating, and a lot of times my relationships didn't end because of cheating. But anytime that I've dealt with cheating in a situation, no, I didn't question myself. I felt more like, hey, if that's what you wanted to do, you could have just left me alone and went on and did it. So it was more of a loyalty thing for me. I'm okay with you leaving. And like Miss Taylor said, it's an individual thing. And my theory is men will cheat. I mean, we are products of our environment, and I've gone through life and men, I mean, women cheat too, so I'm not here saying that women don't cheat, but it's already embedded in me. So if a guy does cheat in a relationship with me, it's definitely not me questioning what I don't have to offer or what I didn't do wrong. What I do know is it's a him thing. You know, there's something you wanted to do and you acted upon whatever it was you wanted to do. And I would much rather you have left me alone to do what you did versus tagging me along doing what you do, because it's not fair to me. So to answer the question, nah, I don't question me.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Thank you for bringing in the new year of the 2022 with us. Also, Miss Valencia book, it is out there. If you guys would like to buy it, please buy it. I was a high school teacher, and I do recommend for children to read. It will be a great book to do a reading board on or a story project, because it lets you know the things as women that we go through, the things that we try to hide, and that we can overcome it. As she said, she is still winning. She is still winning. And Miss Valencia, before we get out, what is your definition of winning?
Basically my definition of winning is not letting the things you did in life, take you down and show like no matter what I'm going through, I'm still gonna present myself as being happy. I'm still gonna continue to go on. I'm not gonna let my children be no fear of my pain. Like if I'm sad, I'm gonna go in my room, I'm gonna hide and I'm gonna cry. They're not gonna see me cry. So basically, life still goes on. I'm still taking care of my kids. I'm still paying my bills. We're not on the streets. I'm not on drugs. I didn't let the things that I went through in life put me on drugs. I drink occasionally. I don't sit here and drink bottles of wine back to back because I'm depressed or sad. I enjoy life. I move forward. I take care of my kids, and we happy. We don't have the best life, but we have a decent life. We have an average life. So nothing that I went through in life caused me to have a breakdown or just be mentally messed up at all.
And thank you for saying that, because a lot of people use excuses saying, well, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. You guys, you can still win. Self-love is one of the most powerful loves that you can have. And regardless of whatever you're going through in life, every soldier has a story to tell. But every warrior has a testimony of how they overcame and how they're still becoming the woman or the man that they need to be. Again, thank you guys for logging on. Please get her book, Like, Comment, and the Strive, for Kids, for Fathers, and Still Winning. Thank you guys. Thank you, Miss Taylor, for logging on. I'm also going to invite you to a group for singles. So be checking out for that. If you guys are single out there, they do have a group on Facebook where it's a lot of people on there that are looking for relationships. So you never know. Try your luck. Thank you guys. You all have a great night. And would anyone like to say anything before we end?
I just want to say thank you all for taking out the time for reading my book. Thank you for just even noticing me. Thank you, Miss Hooper, for just basically reading the book and passing it on to others, because she could have read the book and put it to the side and never, let anyone know about it. So I really appreciate her for putting the word out there for people to hear about my book.
She did. She did.
And I just want to thank you for sharing, because again, there are people who feel like they are alone, and listening to your testimony, like you say, you've been in an abusive relationship, you had 4 kids, 4 fathers, and you're still maintaining. So thank you for putting it out there so others can read, so that it can help others.
Thank you guys for logging on.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, Stu. Go
You
ahead.
have a beautiful story, Miss Taylor, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. And everybody, the average person you see, they're dealing with things and they're not talking about it. But when you can face your experience, you can hold it and absorb it and learn from every mistake, then that's really what it's about. That's what it's about. And as we go through life, we experience pain, we experience good things, we experience life, and we learn, we live, and we grow. And it's all a part of the process. So thank you again for joining us.
Miss Taylor, you are greatly appreciated. You have a beautiful heart, beautiful mind, beautiful soul. You are a beautiful chick. I'm wishing you nothing but success in life. Thank you for accepting our invitation, for coming and sit at our table. Anytime you would like to come on, log on, or share anything, or just speak life to us, because even though we're older, we are still learning as well. We have been through the fire and we are still just trying to maintain and raise our children and enjoy our families. Thank you guys so much. This is the Table for Queens. Have a great night and see you all next week.